Hi guys, this is Dan from Magic Pachinko Restorations. This video is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and unfortunately I just haven't had the time to get around to doing it, but I did catch a window here of inactivity. I'm waiting for some playfields to arrive. I've got everything else done that I can get done, so I've got a couple of minutes and finally got a chance to make this particular video. This should answer a lot of questions that you've asked over the years about different tools that I use, different cleaners, different methods, so on and so forth. So this isn't going to teach you how to restore a pachinko machine, but this should certainly get you started. So I tend to be a very organized person, probably even to the point of being a little bit OCD about it, I guess. But I'll show you some stuff, and I'm hoping my iPad won't fall off the tripod here. So we'll just do the best we can here. So if you look down here, okay. So what you're looking at now, over here, is a bin, and in that bin is a completely torn down pachinko machine, and over there is another one. So those are the two that I'm currently working on. If you notice on both of them, there's a plastic case, and those plastic cases contain all of the hardware for that particular, whoops, sorry, there we go. All the hardware for that particular pachinko machine. And I've got all the little compartments labeled so that as I take parts off, I know what those parts are and where they belong. I've got the customer identified. I have the old playfield. I always send the old playfield back to the customer. So I've got that same sort of thing over here. Again, this is a little bit different kind of a storage unit. This one is got rear parts here and front parts here, which is kind of nice. And again, everything that belongs to that particular pachinko machine is there. So one of the machines sorry, I keep covering up the lens there. Okay, one of the machines I'm working on right now is, again, waiting for a playfield. So what you've got here is the entire frame's been put back together. The main board is back there waiting. And then over here, I hope the angle's right. Yeah, that's all the wood from the second machine. And once that polyurethane dries, then I'll reassemble all of that and get it ready for a playfield. So that's the way I kind of keep my machines separated. Let me get this around here. Again, I apologize for my lack of knowing what I'm doing here. Okay. That's pretty good. So here is another small tray, and these are the nails from the frame and the screws that hold the corner pieces on. And again, it's just a matter of keeping everything organized. So that's a pretty good shot there. I think I'll just work right in that frame. Okay, so let me go over some of the tools that I use real quick. I have a pin set. These are used for if you have a nail that's broken off or something, you can use these to drive the nail through. I use these to set nails. If a little small nail, if I can't get in there with a hammer, then you use this to set the nail, so on and so forth. These are probably one of the most usable, or you want to have a set of these. These I got from Amazon. These are made in Japan. They have very special jaws on them, and it makes it so that you can almost pull a flush screw or a nail out. You don't need much to grab. These are really nice when you're trying to take your spinners and your attractions and the tulips and all sorts of stuff. Or you get a screw that the head is stripped, you can grab it and just get it started with these. Really invaluable. These are bent nose needle nose. I use these a lot for, you get the prying action of grabbing a staple and prying it out. But this is my main tool for pulling the nails off the board. I use a soft piece of pine. I lay this on the playfield, grab the head of the nail and just lift. And that helps me pull the nails right out. a pair of tweezers for grabbing things that are not magnetic. This is a magnetic screwdriver with a very thin flat blade, and I use this to get in and pop the E-rings off, because there's a lot of E-rings on a pachinko, and if you do it carefully, the E-ring will stick to the magnetic part of the screwdriver and you won't lose the E-ring. Another invaluable tool is this pry tool, and I've got a couple of them. This one I've ground down the edge to be fairly thin. This allows you to get in behind an attraction and pry just enough so that you can then go back with these guys and grab the head of the nail or the screw or whatever. Very, very valuable. I also use this to lift the rail wires off the board so I can pull them out. Wire strippers for down the line when you have to deal with the electronics of the machine. So those are the I've got a ton of tools. I think you can see over here. There's a lot of tools up in here that I use, and over on my secondary bench, I've got a set of these are metric sockets and a driver and a socket wrench, some smaller screwdrivers, smaller needle nose, diagonal cutters, so on and so forth. Okay, just a lot of different things that you may need over time. Okay, so now let's talk about some of the chemicals and cleaning agents that I use. First and foremost is Awesome. Awesome is awesome. This I get at the Dollar Tree, I believe, the store that sells everything for $1. Although I think this is $2, I guess, for the half gallon. But this bottle or this bottle is $1. So you want to buy a spray bottle first and then replenish it with these guys, because you do get more in here. And if your store sells it like this, you can get this, obviously. I use this stuff full strength. This just eats the cigarette smoke residue, dirt, grime, just about everything off of, especially the plastic, but it'll clean just about anything. I go through almost a full bottle of this when I clean a machine. So that's the main cleaning ingredient that I use. This is the second one that I use, and this is Awesome. Again, it's cleaning vinegar, so it actually has some soap in it. And the reason that I like this is this cleans brass parts really well. So I've got a little plastic container that I'll fill up, and as I'm taking parts off that are brass, I just throw it into the vinegar. And then I have a Dremel tool. This is my Dremel tool here. Again, invaluable. And I've got the flex hose for it, cables, so that the wire wheel, I can pretty much go anywhere I want to with it. So once the brass parts have soaked in the vinegar for maybe 5 minutes, you just take the wire wheel to it and the brass just shines right up again. Now, as I pull brass nails off, I also throw them in the vinegar and let them set. But if you're going to pull all the nails out of your machine, then again, soak them in vinegar for half an hour, rinse them off real well, dry them out, and then I used to have a rock tumbler, but I've now switched to this unit here. Where are we? There we are. Okay, this is a vibratory tumbler. The reason I switched is because this will handle a lot more weight than a rock tumbler. My rock tumbler was 4 pounds. This will handle 5, which doesn't seem like much, but it does make a difference. And I use crushed walnut shells as a medium. And these work really well. And you buy crushed walnut shells at a pet store. And there's actually nails in here that have been tumbling. And they just tumble up real nice and shiny. It does a real good job. So that's how I clean the nails. Okay, so other chemicals, if you will, that I use, just regular isopropyl alcohol. I use, I just found this wax and liked it. I used to wax just about everything on a pachinko machine, and I kind of stopped doing that because I guess it's not really necessary. But anything on the front, the feed trays and ashtrays, the lower tray and so on, That plastic I will use wax on simply because you want to make the front of the machine look as good as possible. And I just happen to like this. It's a soft liquid kind of a wax from Turtle Wax. Turtle Wax again, but brand whatever. Chrome polish for obvious reasons. Now with chrome, the chrome on your the front of your machine, the easiest way to clean it is to take fine steel wool, dip it in vinegar, and then scrub your chrome, the chrome frame. Most everything will come off. Real heavy printed chrome, you got to deal with a different way. But if it's just kind of gummy and a little rusty, it'll clean up like nobody's business. And then you can use some chrome polish on it. Wood glue, in case you have to glue anything on your frame or anything like that. Goo Gone is great for getting rid of anything that's sticky, like old tape, residue, things like that. Brass polish, for obvious reasons. I polish all the brass pivot points to make sure they're clean. I think that's critical. And then just regular window cleaner. Again, this happens to be from Awesome. It's $1. I mean, you can't go wrong. If you're cleaning like the front frame on a Formica machine, you clean it with Awesome, but then what I do is I go back and I clean it with this just to get any residue of the Awesome off, and then I'll put some wax on a Formica finish. So that takes care of most of the cleaning products except one, and that's another one that I think is really important, and that is Evapo-Rust. This is not $1. This stuff's a little bit on the expensive side. I buy this on Amazon, although Harbor Freight does carry it, but it's a lot more expensive. This stuff I found a couple years ago, and this stuff is miraculous in taking off rust. I used to use it full strength, and I would just fill up a plastic container, put the parts in, let them sit overnight, rinse them off, and they'd be in pretty good shape. The nice part about this stuff is it's completely non-toxic. You can handle it, you can get it on your hands, it doesn't hurt you, and when you're all done with it, you can actually reuse it, and then to the point where when it gets pretty black, then you throw it away, but you can literally pour it right down the drain. There's no environmental impact to this stuff at all, or anything that I'm aware of. But what I've done recently is I bought an ultrasonic cleaner, and what I do with this has a, I forgot, this is a 1.5 liters, I'm not sure. But it comes with a nice mesh basket. You load all your metal parts in and just drop them in. This has a heat and a vibrating setting on it. And what I do is I fill this with 90% water, and then I fill the rest of it with Evapo-Rust. So I've got a diluted concentration of Evapo-Rust in there. The Sonic Cleaner all by itself is going to break the rust down, but with having the Evapo-Rust, it makes it even better. So I'll load the big parts in the basket. Any screws or small parts that I have, I just happen to find this thing. This is a magnetic holder for anything you want to put in it, but it's mesh, and I can just drop this right in the tank full of screws and small parts. And this has got a 20-minute timer on it, and usually after 20 minutes, everything's clean. I rarely have to set it a second time, and if it's really heavily rusted, then I'll just run it a second time. So that takes care of all the metal and the rust. Cleaning brass parts when you've got the pivot points on your different things, the easiest way to clean those, you use brass polish obviously, and you take cotton wick for candles. You just cut a piece, and then you simply wrap it around the pivot, and you just seesaw it back and forth, up and down, and it cleans those shafts up like nobody's business. I also have a soldering station. This was a gift from my son-in-law, and this is just a great tool if you're going to get into doing the electronic portion of your pachinko. Most pachinkos have a very simple DC circuit in them, but quite often the wires have come loose and so on and so forth. And this is a soldering station, a couple of clip arms, holds the solder, solder paste, so on and so forth. I use this a lot. Now when you get around to working on the wood part of the machine, I use polyurethane. I use the semi-gloss, and I do everything with 2 coats. So the first coat goes on, that sucks into the wood pretty good. When it's completely dry, I'll take steel wool and just steel wool it down, get rid of the bumps, and then give it a second coat. And that really makes the wood grain come back. Now, granted, I've done all the sanding and planing and so on and so forth prior to using the polyurethane. Paint-wise, there's a couple of things that I like to paint, one being that the lower strip of your frame is black, and I use black. I will clean the ashtray. The pachinko people that imported them simply sprayed silver paint into the ashtrays. They didn't even bother to clean them, so they sprayed right over the ash. But I clean them all out, and then I use this. I got this at Hobby Lobby. This is chrome paint. It's not really chrome. It doesn't look like chrome, but it gives it a better look than silver. And then I'll also use clear paint on some of the metal parts, like on the frame and things, to keep them, if they were rusty, I'll spray them with a clear. Now, I'm very partial to Ace paint. The reason I am is it covers well and it dries really quickly, so it gives me a chance to, I don't have to sit around and wait an hour and a half for the paint to dry. So those things are all good. And then the last thing that I use, there's probably other stuff, but the last thing I can think of, this is an iron. It's a craft iron. It's called a heat sealing iron, and I just built this little cradle for it, so it sits like that. And then this is brilliant silver heat transfer film, or whatever you want to call it, I'm not sure. But any of your attractions that had the silver on them, it's got to be kind of weird listening to me without seeing my face, but maybe you don't want to. All right. When you want to re-chrome like Nisogen or whatever, what you do is you get it off, you get it clean, and then you sand it and get all the old silver off and try to get that surface flat. I clean it with alcohol, and then you cut a piece that's as big as the part you're using. And when the iron's hot, you take this foil and you just lay it on the iron and then press the part down onto it, and you develop a technique for knowing how long to press, and you don't want to press too long. You can melt the plastic part, so on and so forth. But it does a nice job of redoing the chrome. I get this from a company out in California. It's I believe it's AM Stamp. I think it's AAMSTAMP. They're out in California. The foil itself is cheap. The shipping is outrageous. So just keep that in mind if you're going to do that. Oh, one last thing. I do buy these, again, from Amazon. These are a 12-volt DC wall transformer. I use these on all my machines, and I convert the bulbs to 12 volts. They would have been 9 or 10 volt in Japan. And then just recently I found these, and what I do is I hook this up to the terminal strip on the pachinko machine, and then this will plug right into this end of the power supply, which makes it kind of nice. I used to cut this off and wire it direct, but I found these. This is nice because now you can just unplug this and move the machine, whatever you want to do. So I buy these in bulk. I think I buy 5. They come in a 5-pack for $15, something like that. They're very inexpensive, and they work really well. It's a much better solution than a 9-volt battery or something like that. Okay, I think that's it. Certainly if you have any questions on anything I use, any of the techniques that I have, please go to magicpachinkorestorations.com. There's a lot of videos there that I made earlier on how to do things, and I hope that this video kind of wraps it up and gets you off on a good start. So good luck with your machine. Let me know if you need any help. Thanks.